To tonight's meeting of the Helena Planning Commission. My name is Lucy Richards and I am the chair of this commission. And I will call this meeting to order. If the other members of the commission would like to introduce themselves, and then we can do overall introductions.
I'm Mike Newhouse, Vice Chair.
And I am Ann Schwed.
Maybe staff could go next.
So I'll start. Thanks, Chair. Chris Brink, Community Development Director for the city.
I'm Ellie Ray. I'm senior planner for the city. I'm April Sparks. I'm the admin for the community development department.
Let's just go around the table.
I'm John Houseel with Houseel Levine. We're the consultant team that's going to be working with us.
And I'm Cody Ferguson with House of Levine. I live here now. I'll be project manager along with Josh Kuntz, who isn't here, but we're both project managers. So
He was here yesterday.
He was here yesterday.
My name is Ben Kuiper. I'm the chair of the Helena Citizens Council and I'm a District 2 rep.
Andy Shirtliff, City Commissioner.
Clint Smith with Staley Engineering, and we're subcontracted to help assist with this program for kicking it off for Helen Forward.
And I'm Robbie Culver with Staley Engineering.
And John Andrew with the Helena Citizens Council.
And Chase Eaton, I'm also at the Helena Citizens Council.
Sean Morrison, Helena Citizens Council, District 3, I think, is what I've.
Four,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4, and 1. So
There were 3 of us, and so we didn't know who was going to be here. Yeah, through the shorts. Not as soon as
Well, on a Wednesday night, you know this is where you want to.
Yeah. Especially when it's 70 and sunny.
straight from lawn work through this.
Hi, I'm Jacob Moser. I'm kind of hitting the background, taking notes. How's your thing?
All right, thank you, everyone. And so with that, unless the staff have anything else, we can move along in the agenda. Next up, item 2. What is a land use plan?
Sorry. Did you guys staff want to say anything about the project before we get into this? Or no?
Yes.
No? It's all yours. It's just us. All right, here we go. All right, this is pretty informal. This may be the last time wear a suit, but the first time out, I always do. Cody warned me, but so again, John Houseel, we started the firm about 20 years ago, and we do this work all over the United States. Just a little bit about who we are. We're going to go through an agenda. The meeting tonight should take about an hour and a half around that. But we're just kicking off the project. It's going to be about an 18-month project in total. But we'll go through a few things. I can get this.
If it doesn't, I can. It was beginning yesterday.
Oh, there you go. Did you do that or did
I did
Okay,
that.
there you go.
I'll do it for you. Just let me know when you're in advance.
So real quick about our firm, Houseel Levine. We have offices in Chicago, Helena, Los Angeles, Seattle, and we're about to open one up in Milwaukee. But we do planning and urban design and zoning and GIS work all over the United States. In the last 20 years, we've helped about 450 cities across the US. And we work out with cities as big as we're doing Dallas's comprehensive plan. We're just finishing that up. And then we do, a little farming community of 600 people and everything in between. So we're beginning to do a lot more work in this part of the country. About a year and a half ago, we started working with the state to do a planning data platform for the entire state of Montana. And we're currently working with the state to do a digital twin for Lewistown. So if you want to see some great sessions, come in October to Lewistown for the state planning conference. We'll be there. But again, we work all over the United States at every different scale. And the nice thing about working nationally is we can be talking about something to say about downtown Helena, and you can say, Bentonville, Arkansas is doing some really remarkable work with adaptive reuse of historic structures. Like nobody else is doing what they're doing. We might want to consider some of the approaches they're taking. It's pretty cool stuff, but we're not reading about that work. We're doing that work. And the fact that we get to work in every state and with hundreds of different cities is we can bring practices that other cities are exploring and thinking about for consideration and discussion here to see if it has merit or application. So that's kind of nice. In spite of you, those of you who might know Cody, we're a fun group. No, just kidding. But we love what we do, but we don't take ourselves super seriously. But we take what we do really, really seriously. We sort of view every engagement as an opportunity to sort of set a new standard for that state or that region, and do some nationally recognized work. And that's what we want to do here with Helena. So we're super thrilled to have been selected to work with the city going forward. All right, I'm trying to advance it. Look at that, it worked. So real quick, what is a land plan, or what is a comprehensive plan? This is what we're going to be going over. We're going to very quickly go through the scope of work. We have a detailed scope of work, a printout. If you want it, we'll give you a copy. You can see step by step, several pages, exactly what you sort of gotten yourselves into over the next year and a half. But we'll run through that tonight so you get a sense of it. But if you want a hard copy, we can give it to you. We're going to go through a workshop to begin to identify issues and opportunities that you see that exist in Helena. So it's not necessarily what the staff thinks or what the consultant team thinks, but what the stakeholders think. We'll talk about some different outreach strategies that we've got cooking up that are about to be launched, and then go into the next steps. I'll just tap you on the shoulder instead of
No problem.
yelling at you.
No problem.
So what is a land plan or a land use plan? In most states, it's a comprehensive plan is what it's referred to. In Connecticut, they call it a POCD, a plan of conservation and development. In Colorado and Michigan, they call them master plans. In Arkansas, they call them community plans. So in every state, they might refer to it as something different. But if you go back to like 1926 and 1928, there's these things called the Standard Zoning Enabling Acts, the federal government passed, and the Standard Planning Act, which was done in 1928. And that gave authorities to the states to then give legislative authority to the counties and cities to do planning and zoning. And so the state's legislation is what gives cities the authority to do long-range planning. Comprehensive plans or land use plans are typically done on a 10 to 20-year horizon, but for communities that are rapidly growing, they're often updated about every 10 years. That's common, especially for rapidly growing or changing communities. Communities that have seen little change because they're 100% built out, no opportunity for new development, then those are sort of updated every 20 years or so. With the rate of growth here and the rate of change, you may want to be sort of revisiting some of this stuff in a decade or so to see sort of how you're tracking, right? So we want to review and convert the 2019 City of Helena growth policy into a plan and align with the new Montana Land Use Planning Act. So in 2023, there was new legislative session bill 382, which changed some of the requirements for city comprehensive planning or land use planning in the state of Montana. So you're one of the first states to begin updating, but not the first, but one of the first cities, excuse me, to be updating your land use plan based on the new legislative requirements. So that's another reason why we want to do this. General review and update of elements and introduction of newly required elements. So, there you go. So a couple of different things that we had to do during the plan. You have to engage the community. If you're going to establish policy to guide Helena for the next 10 to 20 years, it's got to be built on a foundation of what stakeholders want. Residents, new or older residents have been here a long time, business owners, operators, industry leaders. So it can't be from one perspective, it's got to work for everybody. And the more robust and effective your engagement is, the more viable and realistic your plan is going to be going forward. It'll have better teeth. Everybody will be perceived as sort of a steward of the plan and the process. They'll be able to see the end document and see their fingerprints on it, like it's something they helped create and they believe in. It identifies community desires, needs, and aspirations. Again, we're trying to establish what Helena wants to be in 10 years or 20 years and what you have to do to begin to get there. So the growth that you are undertaking right now is managed and aligns with what you think is most important, so you don't lose who you are. And that's one of the biggest challenges, embracing necessary change in a way that doesn't alter the best of who you are, who you want to be. And that takes thought, right, to change accordingly. So assesses the city's existing issues and strength, guides a broad range of topics, and it's very dynamic. It's not set in stone. It changes over time, and it needs to be sort of a living and breathing document. If you think of planning in a nutshell, planning a city for the next 10 years or planning your daughter's wedding next October, exact same thing. It's three things. That's it. It's you have to figure out where you are right now, the good, the bad, the ugly. All right. You have to figure out exactly where you want to be at the end. And you have to figure out exactly what you want to do and have to do to get there. So that's it. Where are you now? Where you want to be and what do you have to do to get there? That in a nutshell is any planning process. It doesn't matter. If we want to leave here and be drinking a beer rooftop in 2 hours, right? We know where we are now, right? We know where we want to be. And we know exactly what we have to do to be where we want to be in 2 hours, right? So
No, we cannot.
the plan is those 3 things, right? So when I get into the process, keep those 3 things. So, all right, next one. So it's important for a lot of reasons. One, you're required by legislation or the state to have planning. 2, if you're growing rapidly, you don't want to always be back on your heels reacting to stuff, right? You want to say, hey, we thought about this. Thousands of people engaged in the process to really think through and discuss this as a community. And based on our values and what we want to achieve, this is what we'd like to see happen. This is what we don't want to see happen, right? There's got to be forethought into that. So you want to be able to let other people know what your vision is, whether you're working with the state, whether you're working with the county, whether you're working with adjacent counties, whether you're working with developers, whether you're working with business who's thinking about moving here, you have to be able to effectively articulate your vision. It's great that people you're talking with have their ideas, but you want to say, this is what we want to be. This is what we want to do. This is what's important. You want to inform and evaluate development proposals. When a development comes forward, and it's a type of development, let's say that's being annexed in, and you have the ability and the purview to review certain aspects of what is being proposed. And that give and take comes back to make sure it's the right fit for Helena. The comprehensive plans, goals, objectives, and principles should help guide that evaluation. If someone is proposing something that is anti to or in contradiction to everything the plan says, you can say, hey, listen, this doesn't align with anything that we value. And this does not align at all with what we're trying to achieve as a community. So we've got some work to do to get this development dialed in, right? Or you can say, this is exactly helping us deliver our vision. And Mr. Developer, Mrs. Developer, this is great. Let's partner up and let's get this done. So you evaluate development proposals. Foundation for regulatory framework. It may be that when you do planning and you have a plan for the next 10 years, you might say, boy, we might have to change some of our zoning regulations or our development regulations or our design review if we're going to get what we want, still in sort of an as of right market to really let the market flourish. There's some things we might want to tweak. Planning comes first, it's the plan. And then zoning should be used, or regulation should be used as a tool to help implement the plan, working in a free market, right? So there may be things that you want to tweak to your codes and regulations after the plan is adopted so the two better align, right? That's one of the important things. To coordinate local and regional initiatives, I sort of talked about that. To support CIP and budgeting, as you grow, infrastructure is going to be increasingly important. And you want to use the comprehensive plan or the land use plan to align infrastructure needs with planning and development growth. So whether it is broadband or water sewer or other infrastructure or stormwater management or streets and roadways or bicycle connections, that CIP and budgeting is crucial to coordinate with the land use plan. You identify future studies. This study will be comprehensive and will cover a lot, but it may kick over a stone or uncover something. And you might say, boy, we really need to dig deeper into this. So once this plan is adopted, we got to circle back into a deep dive into this issue. Like, we got to figure that out. So it may expose other things that need to be done. And throughout the process, it should be something that informs and educates the community. Most people don't know about city planning or comprehensive planning or land planning. Almost nobody knows about zoning unless you happen to be proposing something where you get sucked into the gravity of a zoning application or something like. Otherwise, you just don't know, right? But this is a chance for people to know what planning is, know what Helena wants to achieve, how they can be a part of that success, how they can help establish a vision, and how the city will help deliver on that promise, if you will, over the next decade, right? So it's a really important thing to sort of inform and educate the community. All right, so the scope of work real quick, and I talked about in a nutshell what the scope is, where we are, where we want to go, and how do we get there. So being consultants, doing our due diligence, we took those 3 simple things and we blew it up into 6, just to complicate it a little bit. But it's an 18-month process. And the first part, and I don't know if the chevron's tiered out through there, this is just, let me see the next. I gotta go back to the other one.
Okay.
Sometimes we put in more detail, but we have the printout here. So the first one is project initiation. That's this trip, right? So yesterday we had a tour with staff of the entire city, so we could drive around, look at the different areas, what was changing, what some of the issues were, where the development opportunities might be, some of the things the city is facing. But we got staff's perspective. They're the front lines. They're the ones out there trying to ensure city policy is actuated in the real world, right? That's their charge. That's not easy, right? So we drove around with city staff. for a few hours, or for a couple hours, and really got a sense of the lay of the land. We had a meeting with all the department heads. We had a meeting, business workshop yesterday morning. Myself and Jacob have been spending the last 2 days driving around, looking at every parcel, taking pictures, recording land uses, issues that we see in the field. So we're really trying to get a real detailed look of the city and your growth area. So the areas outside the city limits. But the project initiation in a nutshell is we want to establish a relationship so that we're perceived as an extension of city staff, right? When we think of the project team, we don't think of Staley and Housing Living, but that's not the project team, right? The project team is Housing Living, Staley, and the City of Helena staff. Like that is the team that's got to roll up its sleeves and do the work so we can bring to this group things for discussion, right? We have to do the homework. And that project initiation is sort of set that tone. Next thing is public engagement and communication. We have a website that is ready to launch or soon to be ready to launch. I don't think it's launched yet, is it? Or is it?
It's up.
It's up now? Okay.
Yeah, we have it linked.
Okay, so we'll go to that in the end where the link is. We have a thing called Map Social, where it's an online mapping outreach platform where you can drop a point into a map of anywhere in Helena or outside Helena. It's linked to GIS. And you can map a community asset, a development opportunity site, a problematic intersection, something you think is a problem, and you can drop a point. You can type in your comment. You can do it on your phone, PC, tablet, and then you can do it all on the project website. And then we have the ability to go into the website. You can see a composite of, if 1,000 people do this, and we have 6,000 points of interest, you can say, show me everything that is considered a development opportunity site. You click on that icon, you'll see a map of all the opportunity sites that residents have said are important and what they think should go there. Or you can say, show me every problematic intersection, and you'll see all these dots show up, and they'll say why that intersection is problematic. But it's sort of crowdsourcing community feedback and tying it back geospatially to a GIS active map of the entire city of Helena. So think of it as sort of like infrastructure mapping, but what you're mapping is people's comments. It's pretty cool. So that's on the city's website. We also have a survey, a questionnaire, so business owners and residents and other stakeholders can take that questionnaire. Next, we go into existing conditions, and existing conditions is just that. We kick over all the stones. We look at demographic, market, zoning regulations. We look at environmental. We look at transportation, infrastructure, land use, community facilities, parks and recreation, environmental features. We look at all of these things and we map them, we summarize them, we look at all your past plans and studies. But this is that, where are we right now? And we will expose things that we think are good, things that may need work, opportunities that we think exist, and issues that we think need to be addressed. But it's sort of a snapshot. And we develop a thing called an ECR, an existing conditions report. And that'll be a summary of everybody's input, what they like, what they don't like, what they think is important. So community input and that snapshot of that existing conditions analysis. So demographics, market, and all existing conditions. And then once we do that, that sort of encapsulates the first 1, 2, and 3. Step 4 is that vision, goals, and preliminary land use. So based off the outreach, based off the research, based off the existing conditions analysis, we say this is what people value and here's what we have to work with. Here's the preliminary vision for Helena, and here's the preliminary goals and objectives. And based off of that, this is the preliminary land use. So what land uses we think ought to go where, and then we discuss what that is to see if we have that framework right before we get detailed. And that is really a reflection of everything we've heard from everybody at that point. We then go from step 4 into 5, and 5 is where we come up with the preliminary plan elements. And again, those are typically land use, transportation, community facilities, environmental features, parks and open space. And when I say element, those are sort of chapters of the plan, right? And then implementation is a key chapter as well. And then we bring all those things together into the draft and final land use plan at the end in step 6. Every step along the way, we're having meetings, several different steps for having community engagement and workshops. At most of these steps, we have meetings with this group. And before something gets posted on the project website or is available hard copy on the counter, we run it past this group. And we roll up our sleeves and we work through it. And we say, did we hit the mark? Did we miss the mark? We have to go back and do a little bit more digging. We have to dial this in a little bit. And when this group is sort of a sounding board for Helena says, yeah, we think this draft is where it needs to be, then we kick it out to the public and say, okay, what do you guys think? But it goes here first, right? So we work with staff and the consultant team to prepare materials based off of feedback and based on discussion in this group. We then take a shot at drafting it. Then we come back and say, hey, did we get it right? And if you guys determine we get it right, or we do any changes we have to, then it goes to the public for comment. And that's sort of the cadence, right? So you're really an extension of the team. You're our sounding board. We can't get 30,000 people from Helena jammed in a room every couple of months to go over stuff. So you are the eyes, ears, and thoughts of that larger population to get stuff drafted, to bring that out to everybody. But that's the role of this group. So that I just went through all of this. So there you go. Act as a sounding board, attend community visioning workshops, help with do-it-yourself workshops. This is another thing that we have for the outreach, a thing called the do-it-yourself workshop. And it's a workshop kit. If you have, if you live in a neighborhood and you want to conduct your own workshop with your neighbors, or you're part of a Helena Bicycling Federation, and you want to say, I've got 80 people in my group, I want to do a workshop of bicyclists, and get them all together. But you can pick up one of these kits, a do-it-yourself kit, and you can conduct your own workshop with the same 4 questions we're going to be running through in a little bit. And then no matter who does the workshop, they give the results back to us, and then we will tabulate it, summarize it, and fold it into the outreach, just as if we had done it ourselves. Staff can do it, residents can do it, businesses can do it, anybody. That's a great way to get a lot more participation. So we'll give you information on how to get a do-it-yourself kit. We'll have open houses, public hearings, adoption meetings. There'll be opportunities for feedback throughout the entire planning process. And it really is to provide a public face for the planning process, you guys. So when you're out in your day-to-day real jobs, you can talk to people about what it is that you're doing and what we're doing to get them excited, direct them to the website, sort of be stewards or cheerleaders and active participants of what we're doing in this room as a community. So now we're going to, any questions about the process at all? And we have printouts of the detailed process if you want. It'll take you through step by step and everything that's being done. But any questions over sort of what you're getting into for the next 18 months? Nice. Okay. Cody's going to hand out some questions. I'm going to sound like a school teacher here in a little bit. Don't start writing on the paper when you get it. Wait for instructions. Once we get into it, work on the problem or the question I tell you to work on. Do not work ahead of the rest of the class. When you finish a question, you can just put your pencil down or rest your head on the desk so I know that you're done. And then I'll tell you when we go on to the next question. So you don't have to put your names on it, but what I would like you to do, maybe in the upper right-hand corner, is just say, are you on the plan commission? Are you staff? Are you on the citizen council? Are you on city council? Just right up in the upper corner, what group you're with, so I get a sense of what your perspective is, right? You don't have to put your name. And when we do these, so the do-it-yourself kits are the same 4 questions. Cody and Josh had a workshop yesterday morning with the business community. How many people were at that, Cody, that first workshop? 8. Okay. Those are the same 4 questions from a business perspective, a business owner's perspective. So when we ask the community questions, we ask them at the beginning, these 4, so we can say, we talked to a room full of 5th graders, and here's the answers they gave us. And we talked to all the elected officials, and here's the questions they got us, right? Now, it's always a little alarming when the 5th graders give the exact same answers as the elected officials. But what we look for when we do this, joking aside, is there consensus? Do the business owners identify the same issues as school kids? Do the elected officials identify the same issues as residents? And we want to get a cross section. In most communities, there's a lot of consensus. In some communities, there's not. And we've been in some communities where, let's say, the elected officials are like, we had no idea that this was such a huge issue to our business community. And this will bring that out. So at the beginning of the process, before we have things for people to react to, we ask everybody these questions, all right? So we're going to go through this in a little bit here. And when we get into this, again, just answer the one question at a time, and then I'll tell you how we're going to work through this. So go ahead to the next slide. So the first one is identify 5 issues or concerns confronting the city of Helena community. So they don't have to be in order of importance. They can be pretty specific or they can be broad, but if it was up to you, what do you think are 5 of the most important issues facing Helena right now? All right, so take time to jot down 5 ideas under question number 1, and then don't go on to any other questions yet. I'm curious, does anybody in here own a business in Helena?
I bet fifth graders are better at this than we are.
I don't know, you'd be surprised. Anybody want to guess the number one issue almost every elementary school group of kids across the country says is the number one issue in their town? Almost universal, which is fascinating to me.
Food.
Huh? No, it's pools.
Oh,
If their town doesn't have a pool, the need for a pool is the number one issue. If the town has a pool, the issue is they need a better pool. It's almost always the number one issue. Number two is always some kind of fast food thing. We need In-N-Out, we need Culver's, we need whatever the thing is they don't have a lot of, that's number two. Those are almost always one and two. Who's lived here more than 10 years in Helena? More than 20?
Continually, or you mean consecutively or over a lifetime? I think I'm at 30.
Okay, so I can say more than 30, more than 40. All right, after that, I quit asking because I get in trouble. Anybody been here less than 5? So if you lived here and moved away and came back, what brought you back?
A big part was the downtown. And that's the district I'm now. I grew up outside of town and I went to school in East Helena, but the downtown is a vibrant, lively community.
It's great.
It's
Yeah.
very different than it was when I was growing up. Thursday nights in the Walking Mall or Wednesday nights live at 5. It's a great community.
That's
park.
awesome.
Yeah. It's very different. It's fun.
Yeah, you have a downtown that most communities would be very envious. I mean, like, would love to have the downtown. You guys, it's great.
no, I have a friend who grew up in Helena, and this happened before she was born, but she bemoans, of course, knocking down all the downtown buildings. But, it's still a really awesome downtown, and there's, you need to have some growth, so
Yeah.
it's what it is.
You need pre-urban renewal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's my time.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, but okay.
More post-urban renewal and it was fun.
although likely well-intended, urban renewal decimated a lot of downtowns across the United States.
Yeah.
Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, Illinois, those places, those small downtowns just got brutalized by urban renewal program. You have a lot of cool old bones. The buildings you have downtown are phenomenal. I mean, you've got great old bones downtown. So
Now, when I grew up in Butte, Montana, which has the Uptown has a lot of cool old buildings.
Butte is, I was there last year.
And empty buildings with
No.
kids living in them and such.
Butte is,
So it's like,
Butte is a fascinating town. I was telling Cody it needs to be a Netflix miniseries. They need to wrap it around some sort of like bizarre, like mining gangs or whatever. Like, but when you find out, like,
The unions.
yeah, there's so much,
That the cop.
there's so much crazy history.
Where's mine disaster in American history happen?
Oh, yeah, but
the anniversary is this Saturday. as
Is
a
it
matter of-
really?
It's the 8th. Yes, June 8th.
There's a fabulous book, Fire and Brimstone,
Yes.
about it, and that would make a great Netflix series right there.
that would be, I mean, less than a year ago, Cody and I were underground wearing helmets in a mine and cruising around.
Cool experience.
But it's a fascinating, the story there just you're like, wait,
Yeah.
what was going on 120 years ago here? 100,000 people speaking 60 languages, like you're like, it's bizarre.
Yeah.
All right, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go around the room. And when I get to you, I want you to give me
Yeah.
one of the things you wrote down, right? Not all 5, not 2 of them. Just give me one of the things you wrote down, and we'll go around the room a few times. And if I call on you, don't give me something on your list that somebody else has already said. Like if you said we need more dog parks, we desperately need more dog parks. Cody's gonna write down here, number 1, need more dog parks.
I'm not gonna write it.
But if we get to you, that's what you really think as well. We don't need to hear it again. Give us something else, because when we collect your papers, we're recording it here on paper to sort of mentally keep track as a group. But when we record your answers, we'll collect your papers at the end and we'll record off of what you wrote down. This is just to sort of help us track. So go ahead, give us one of your things.
Okay, so this is pretty boring, but the steady and ever increasing population with the rising property costs and how that relates to zoning and access.
Okay, right out of the gate, one of these like super complicated.
I'm that person, I'm that
Uh,
person.
So I would say,
So can we be growth
Affordability.
and housing costs, or can we just say housing affordability?
There you go.
there you go.
That's what I meant to say.
This is what we'll do. So is we will attempt to say back what you're trying to get at, right? For two things, we want everybody in the room to make sure we heard the same thing, and two, to make sure we're recording it correctly, because sometimes you just don't know how to get it, the punch. So
Use of infrastructure,
use of infrastructure.
use maybe.
So aging infrastructure, is that the concern, or?
So there's a concern with a lot of Valley residents who live in the county using city infrastructure,
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
depreciating it, but not paying into it.
Okay, so I'd say, burden on existing infrastructure. Okay, so there you go. I've heard that before. Yeah, that's, yeah.
Well, I think a unique thing about Helena is that the city growth is maybe 10% over the last couple decades, but the community growth, if you look at our metropolitan area, is like 50%.
Right.
So more than half of our community no longer lives in the city limits.
Right.
Is part of maybe what you're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why when we do this, like the city clearly doesn't have authority into another municipality, right? But you
Yeah.
do have the authority to plan beyond your city limits into your growth area, right?
Yeah.
And in every state, those laws are a little bit different. And that's why we say, when we say, what are the issues facing the city, Helena community? It's not just the city proper, but the other issues the city is facing that may be in the community of Helena, but it may be caused by or existing with some of the issues outside of the city. So it's a good answer. All right.
John, you might want, I've done this before, but I'll just say what I've said in the past is access to childcare.
Okay, access to childcare. That's a good one.
Affordable childcare. Or any.
Any,
Any
childcare.
Yeah.
That says the man who has staff out constantly.
right?
That's some of my stuff's up there. Housing affordability was my top one, but
Yep.
I look at funding for the city as we rely on property taxes.
That's good. That's good. Funding for the city. You want to be fiscally responsible and you want to be fiscally solid, like in good shape, right? Like it's, yeah, that's a good one.
You know, with regards to the bond and levy, the bond passing, levy failing, the school levies failing. And we get people asking, well, why didn't the city put more money towards the schools? Well, it's not a part of our purview.
Right.
So looking at what are some other alternatives for that?
Right.
Well, and that relates to what you were saying too. I mean, about all of the people who don't live within the city limits,
Yep.
also utilizing conservation resources.
It's also interesting when you are the state capital or the county seat or any of those things, because you will have, compared to other communities of similar size, a disproportionate amount of non-tax paying uses in your community, especially in your downtown. And a lot of communities struggle with that. A lot of college towns do, a lot of government centers do. It's a pro and con situation, but it's another challenge. So.
I'll put down education in schools,
Okay, maintaining the quality of them, or what's the issue?
both infrastructure and, keeping
Okay,
flow going, I guess.
so schools and education, and I would put quality and facilities, right? You said your name is John Andrew?
Yes.
My name is John Andrew Housey, so I'm like, I like where this is headed. I remember that.
Different sons for.
Yeah, yeah, but close, real close. All right,
But I have just been looking for stream routes and safety.
good. Pedestrian routes and safety, sorry, yep. So pedestrian routes and safety. That's good.
The one that I have is similar to that, but it's sort of an expansion of it, and I called it a transportation disconnect.
Okay,
Because I feel like we have like Montana and Euclid, and it has bifurcated. It makes it really difficult for pedestrians or vehicles, or, I mean, there are difficult intersections, but also just the size of the roads.
Yeah.
And I'd say Prospect, 11th, Montana and Euclid create separate neighborhoods that don't,
Right.
that sort of bifurcate that cohesion for a community.
Yeah, so I would say literally it's a,
I said transportation
Segregation by-
disconnect.
no, that's perfect. Transportation disconnect. I think that's perfect.
Yeah.
A lot of communities have those, and sometimes they're real or they're perceived, but they're real in terms of that connection. And roads, railroads,
They have a railroad that, right, that's separating it, but I'm thinking
Yeah.
about even like, we have a great Centennial Trail system just on the other side of
right?
Euclid that you can't get to
Right.
because you can't cross the street
Exactly
there,
right.
on foot.
That's why I always sort of laugh when I see these models where they see like it's a park service area now. So they show a park and then they'll draw like that half-mile circle around it. Like, I'll see how easy it is for kids to get to this park. And I'm like, the kid could get to that park if they tried. So yeah, the connectivity is a big deal. That's a real good one. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think, and it's also, I mean, it is pedestrian. I would add sidewalks into that as well.
Oh, yeah, that's part of connectivity. And how do you put up their connectivity?
Yeah.
It's funny, two of the most prominent issues we hear across the country, regardless of community size or makeup, is housing and pedestrian and bicycle connectivity or walkability, bikeability. And it's funny, 6 years ago, walkability wouldn't have been on the list of the top 50 things. It just wasn't on people's brains, right? And now it's almost always in the top 5. Almost always.
I think it's this mindset that we need to move away from thinking about how are we moving all the cars through the city, rather than how are we living within the city and allowing
100%.
cars
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
go through it
Yeah.
in whatever capacity,
And I think
slow
you're-
down capacity.
You're exactly right. I think a big part of it is through the lens of sort of, I describe it as individual mobility. Like, I'm not worried about systems or networks or whatever. First, it's how do I get around as a person? And what if I don't have access to a car? Or what if I have one car and my wife is using it for her job? Or, how do I get around? Can I bike? Can I walk? Can and if I can't, then that's a problem. And like, so it's sort of that through that lens, like you just said, it's a different way of looking at the problem.
Or all you have to do is walk around with your 4-year-old grandson for a little bit and figure out where are you comfortable with them.
It's true though, right? It's
That's not a lot of places.
No,
Some streets you just don't feel safe crossing.
well, or there are no sidewalks.
Yeah.
He lives 5 blocks away. We have to walk down the middle of the street.
That's always that's something that always amazes me when towns that have like bus stops or bus transit, and they put the bus stop on a 6-lane road on the side, and there's no sidewalk to get to where the bus shelter is. And it's a town where it snows 3 feet every January, and I'm like, who's ever getting to that bus stop ever? Like, it's frightening. Those are good ones.
The amount of red tape required when submitting land use applications.
All right, so complicated land use process.
Sorry, Chris.
No, it's
Nothing personal.
Well, the next meeting needs security.
I've been a director before. I know what those issues are like. So it's
I don't mean this in an entirely negative way. I do think that the city of Helena struggled, and this maybe goes to Andy's point a little bit and some of the other points on following through on planning. This is the 3rd or 4th iteration of planning that I've seen in some aspect of the downtown community that would affect the downtown community in just the last 5 years. And City Commissioner, not Andy, described to me, a wall of plans. And I think in part because of resource constraints and red tape and other issues, we are really good at envisioning a beautiful future. We have a lot of challenges getting there.
in delivering.
Yeah.
So I would say implementation and follow-up. Those are all legit. One of the first things that we do in this investigative phase of the process is we look through all your relevant past plans and studies and see like, well, this is really good. Why didn't it get done? Or this isn't good. It shouldn't carry forward, but these other ones are. And like, we got to get a sense of like what was done and why, and what worked and what didn't. And that's some of the harder stuff, right? So this group can help develop a plan, but most of the people in this room aren't charged with implementing that plan or making it happen. That's a tougher thing, right? It's a tougher thing. City doesn't have endless pockets. They can't pay for everything. So how do you partner with stuff? What is that public-private partnership? How do you set the table through regulations to supercharge private investment? Like that's a big part of planning and zoning, not to make it more onerous, but to make it appropriately easier. So developers can make a buck and the city gets what it wants. I mean, it needs to be a win-win like that, right? So it's that sort of stuff to, over time, we don't, you know, in Dubai, someone has an idea, we're gonna build and create all new islands that don't exist. And if an emirate wants to make it happen, there's no discussion, it's a committee one. And money is limitless, so pretty soon islands start popping out of places where islands didn't be. In the US, we have free markets. Things take a long time. You don't make these big grand sweeping decisions that, you know, government entities just pay for. So it's little incremental successes, little incremental wins, project by project. And you're really, really busy. And then 10 years go by and you're like, wait, look at everything we did. Like we held our feet to the fire and we were diligent. And every time we had a decision, we made the right one that was in concert with the one previous and the one following. And 10 years go by and you've really moved the needle. But if you're not guided by a plan and you're not willing to stick to it, 10 years go by, you're just as busy. You're like, we've been at this for 10 years, we haven't accomplished anything. So it's about making the most out of those incremental opportunities, right? All right, so we've been around once, we got 9, we'll go around again and give us one we haven't heard, if you've got one. Okay,
You go first.
I mean, I'm in Chris's position of having done this.
go ahead. Let's hear it.
One that I hope this might come up from the city's leadership team yesterday that didn't is, this ties into the commissioner's comment about tax dollars, but deferred maintenance on city facilities. Yeah. Mhm.
That's a good one. Deferred maintenance on city facilities.
Long back.
You know, that's a real good one.
3 million plus.
I was at a meeting once years ago, and they were commenting about streetscape installations that had gone in, like planters, signs, banners, brick pavers, like years before, like a lot of money went into this downtown stuff. And they made the comment and they said, you know, nothing is worse downtown that doesn't have all that stuff. Like nothing is worse than a downtown. And somebody goes, oh, sure there is. It's a downtown that put all that stuff in 15 years ago and hasn't taken care of any of it.
Yeah.
Because it's there, but it shows neglect. And like, what does that say? So if it's not there, you're like, boy, it'd be nice if they did it. But if they did it and don't take care of it, like, so that's worse. So that's a real good point, right? Take care of what you got.
All right, so basically outdated way of looking at zoning concepts
Okay.
because it doesn't relate to how we live or I think how any of us envision our community now with interconnectability and all of that. And so the zoning is more based on, you know, the 1950s way of looking at it with businesses here, houses here. And so then we rely on various requests, which I know from my own work life is just cheater's way of getting around your existing laws and slotting someone in, which creates existing more red tape and more work. So looking at zoning from a more holistic standpoint and addressing that.
So need to update zoning regs. You're singing my song. I think that's one of the biggest things. So I need to update zoning regs.
I thought you were just gonna say, just so you include
I
zoning.
was yeah,
Period.
Euclidean zoning.
But
Yeah, I think it needs to be a hybrid code, some forward-based, some performance, some incentive, some Euclidean. But to me, I said it before, now it's the most important, I think, role of long-range planning. This is me, is you have to articulate a vision for Helena. Make it real clear. Here's our vision. You have to demonstrate that it's market viable, right? You're not hallucinating. It's real. It's a real vision that could actually be done, right? And then what you have to do is take a look at your regulations and dial those in and get them right to deliver your vision. So you establish the vision, you identify it, not a developer. You articulate your vision, you demonstrate market viability, you develop regulations that set the table for effective private sector investment and development, following your vision and your regulations. And then what comes out of the ground is development that makes the developer money and the city realizes its vision. But it's done through the vision and the plan and the setting the table with regulations. And if your regulations don't reflect what you're trying to achieve, you'll never realize it because that's your biggest tool.
Well, and I guess I would say it's not the variances are bad, but it's the way to, it's the back end way to address the problem and not look at it in front and then be like, oh yeah, we need to address it here. And then you get a lot of people up in arms because it's one-offs. But
Well,
yeah.
and it's site specific.
Yes.
And even if it meets the legal definition of hardship, which it should, they often don't, but they should, it's still then a case by case basis as opposed to a text amendment, which is a better approach for everyone, right? I get it there.
I'm not quite sure how to explain this, but I guess balancing the preservation of a neighborhood or commercial, personality, maybe, I don't know the correct word for that, but, versus a practical need to upgrade, sometimes, a sewer line needs to get updated and then, they have to tear up everything.
Right.
It upsets everybody. So
So,
trying to balance a preservation of what exists, but also, updating our infrastructure.
so it's really, preserving existing character and balancing that against new investment.
Yeah.
Whether that be development or infrastructure or whatever. So, preserving existing character balanced against new investment. And that's sort of the trick, right? When you have a lot of history, but you got a lot of new investment, a lot of new growth, it's not ruining what you have. And that's tough. Okay.
So I'll add one. So this is kind of plays off what Ellie stated and what Ben just mentioned. And we brought this up yesterday during leadership. Just the fact of the city's aging infrastructure, all the hidden infrastructure, water, sewer, stormwater. A lot of that infrastructure is 125 years old. We're still using it. And that's a it is a burden and a roadblock to real, at least infill development, right? Because a lot of our infills on the aging infrastructure.
So I would just put aging infrastructure.
I've got a few of them that kind of hover around about the downtown area, whether it's parking, building, or turning to good relationships with downtown businesses. And I know it's been talked about in previous meetings with the unhoused. I think that's up here about almost daily. I don't know which one I want to focus on first. Let's just do unhoused.
Okay, all right. So I'd say the unhoused, yeah, that's
that then leads into relationships with them.
100%. And an issue that is growing everywhere, right?
I'll go for a broad term of water, conscientious use, development. As developments come about, I think we've been pretty good about knowing limitations and aquifers and everything else, but we're sprawling, and that's going to just be a bigger issue in the future.
Right. So you said, I like that you said water conscious development. Yeah, no, I think it captures it. I think that's good. Yeah. We were doing that work for Aurora, Colorado, right outside of Denver, about 380,000 people. And I was interviewing the mayor when we started that job a few years ago. And I said, well, off the top of your head, the three most important issues. And he's like, oh, I'm thinking about this. So this first one, water. He's real dramatic. He's like, the second one, probably water. And he goes, the third one, if I had to pick, I'd say water. Like, he's like, if we don't get a handle on this, we're done. I think it's pretty funny. It's funny, it makes sense.
I don't know if this is too close to what was just said, but I had written down the capacity of our water and sewer systems as we grow.
Yeah, that's different. So one, it's very related clearly, right? It's infrastructure, but one is, even if you're not upgrading it, you need to update it so it doesn't fall apart on you or fail. But the other one is, if you have a lot of development, you may have to increase the size of service to an area so it's getting the water pressure, the other. So you're saying that the capacity of our current infrastructure to handle the growth. Yeah, that's legitimate. Like, even the question about sort of like the issue of aging infrastructure with infill, right? That's not outward growth or extension, right? So that's sort of what you're talking about. Like, do we have, and the other is like, we just have to improve what we have underground now because we're getting infill developments. Very related, but a little bit different.
I'm going to go with something completely different. And I decided to couch it as bad curb appeal. Coming into Helena was not very attractive, right? It's not until you get into the kitchen where you go, oh, this has potential.
Yeah.
But when you're driving in off the interstate or coming in off of Highway 12, it's terrible. There is nothing inviting about it at all. And so I'm like, what? It's a really cool town. Do we want to make it? I don't know if we want to make it more appealing or not. That's a different question, right? But our curb appeal is not great. You don't ever feel like you're entering into Helena. You're driving by fast food restaurants for days. Really bad looking locations before you get into the center of town.
Do we even have like a welcome to Helena sign anywhere by any of the interstates?
Where would you want to put that?
I
The new mall with all the banks that are there. No, listen, I lived in Twin Bridges for years, which is,
So again, so you said like curb appeal.
I said bad curb appeal.
Yeah, bad curb appeal. When we do downtown planning, they call that the approach. Like you want to begin to tease people as to how great the downtown is going to be before they get there. So the approaches into a downtown, and then you get to some point, you see the downtown gateway, like entering historic downtown, whatever. Then it's phenomenal. But that there's done a lot of work and they've studies. And they said like the mindset of like if you have an attractive approach to whatever the thing is, that approach is really impactful on a person's takeaway perception of an area.
Right.
There's a little anticipation, a little bit like, oh, look, we're coming into Helena, or it's like,
Right.
so they have that unattractive curb appeal, that sort of that approach, like that's a big deal. Yeah.
You come in off the interstate and you're down 3-lane, one way on Prospect with nothing on it. And then you have to wind through residential area. And then you're like, where is downtown?
or even like to get to the Capitol and those.
Right.
I mean, it's like, yeah.
It's
I'm
interesting.
just saying, there's nothing intuitive about it
No.
or appealing.
The apparent disconnect and underlying animosity between city, county, and state entities.
That's good. So
It's a dysfunctional relationship.
yeah, city, county, state. Yeah.
It's true. Okay.
Listen, I live outside of Chicago. You don't have to tell me about that relationship. I totally get that. That's a good one.
City, county, what other agencies?
City, county, state. Yeah.
I had a different one, but based on what you were saying, I agree with that, and I think that the nuance, which maybe it was Amy that brought up. So when I was on the BID, we for a while funded a billboard, both on Interstate and on Highway 12, with a nice picture of the historic downtown. And the reason we did that is because we heard from a lot of people, especially like high school kids, would come to Helena for state tournaments. And then I would talk to them and they would say, I didn't know you had a downtown because when we came for those tournaments, we never went downtown.
Right.
Our downtown is I like to describe it as a waterfront because at the edge of our downtown, there are millions of national forests.
Yep.
Right. And it's not on one of the major thoroughfares through
Interesting.
town. So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
actually don't see it. And you're absolutely right. Finding it is not easy.
Right.
That's
Is that good
yeah.
or bad? I don't know. But
Well, for the sake of people having a positive view of Helena, I would say they would say, well, I went to the soccer fields over by the airport and the wastewater treatment plant. I went to the baseball fields over by, and then over, and then I bring them downtown one day and they'd say, no idea any of this was here. Yeah. So it's kind of wayfinding is the issue. It's a historic city. It's not built with, linear pathways.
Right.
And that's a challenge for us.
Yeah. So getting to the downtown is not intuitive or easy. It's not. Yeah. And wayfinding is exactly the right terminology.
Mhm.
Yeah. In most of the prominent or most of the areas of the city, generally, no matter where you are, you ought to be constantly made aware conveniently and effectively as to where the downtown is and how to get there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But if you take the Prospect Avenue exit, getting downtown, like my mother-in-law from North Dakota would say, it was about 5 non-intuitive turns.
Yeah, like that. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good point. That's good.
This one hasn't been said in any meeting that I've been to thus far, but we lack impact fees. Don't throw anything at.
Impact fees aren't a bad thing. It's just.
So lack impact fees. Okay, we'll go around one more time.
Okay, so this is kind of connected to what they've been saying, but it's the access to all the great outdoors. We have the national forest and even the city of Helena, Mount Helena, all of that kind of land, which is a great draw that brings people to live here permanently too. But there's no connectivity or access to that. But what I'm really getting at is a way to get good access to that without destroying the natural resources
Right.
and the outdoors as well.
Okay,
So
So-
good luck with that one.
Well, so the fear is loving it to death.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
But also that you need to be able to get to the love better.
Yeah.
oh yeah, so a big part of being close to nature is to nurture a relationship with nature. And you don't do that by saying you can't look at it or you can't go there. You want to respectfully invite people to experience it, right? So it's how do you effectively provide access to nature without harming it, right? Yeah.
Overutilized access points.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of acreage. It's just that there's from the downtown or the, there's
Right.
really concentrated in a few areas. I don't know if that's.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is what I mean, because I go to all of the trailheads.
Yeah.
Yes, there are ones that everyone goes to. And bikers have better access because they can go on the roads.
Yeah.
But a lot of the roads are not designed for hikers.
Right.
So you'd have to like basically, get splattered by a car on Main Street if you're hiking out there or, yeah,
Or you drive.
So-
or you drive.
So is it wayfinding to better distribute people?
Then
Yeah.
wayfinding may be part of it,
It's
but I
part
think
of
it's
it.
I think it's a better and more responsible access to nature. I guess for lack of a better way.
Yes, that's a good way to put
It's
it.
better and more, yeah.
That's the problem.
That's a
too.
very
You
good
bring
point, yeah.
people in and you love
Right,
it to death.
right.
I mean, but
It's a phenomenal resource and you want to engage it, but you don't want to harm it, right? Right?
So do you want stuff that isn't on R5 if R5 is already up here?
If your fiber already up there, you're gonna say my fiber up there, unless you have another one you just want to throw up there because it's burning at your soul.
There are times when traffic flow in Helena is awful. It's usually because of the railroad, but we have some five-point intersections.
Right, right.
that Don't run very well, and traffic flow can be an issue at times.
Okay, all right. So problematic traffic flow or congestion. Yeah, at-grade crossings are, yeah.
I'm just gonna really quickly piggyback on yours, Ben, because the other thing I was gonna mention that hasn't been brought up specifically before is just the lack of east-west connectors in our community to help with that traffic flow.
Yeah. That was a little bit,
I
of
don't know if you wanted to add
little
that
bit of
to
the
the discussion.
transportation.
No, I would list it as separate,
Oh,
related for
okay,
sure. but
sorry.
yeah.
I didn't mean to jump the
We'll let it go out.
Yeah, it's raining here today.
Always fabric in the room. One, you know,
I'll add one. Not on my list, all my five have been taken, but I heard this yesterday and kind of got me thinking. Lack of wage growth.
okay,
in the city. Of course,
Yeah.
that impacts your ability to access services that you need to live and access, housing to live and childcare. So it's,
everything, yeah.
it's everything. It's a bigger umbrella, but
All right, and if you don't have any more on your list, that's okay, we can just skip you if you're done, but,
Five, I know water's been mentioned, but securing and perfecting our water rights.
Yeah.
okay, good, securing and perfecting water rights. I was a planner in Arizona for several years, that was a huge issue down there.
The city has a water right available
Right.
that needs to be perfected for 2025.
Is that the 2025 is the date on?
It's a reservation in the Upper Missouri.
John?
I'll go for the go big or go home. Fire and police, I'll just combine them.
Okay.
An integral part of the community and we're going through some funding bond levy issues with
Okay,
keeping them up and running.
so funding for fire and police, okay.
Yes.
This one I didn't really write down, but I'll piggyback off of Commissioner Fritliff. Seems like we have the functional relationship, not only with agencies, but also with businesses and citizens. I think I'm not intimately familiar. We've had issues keeping some of the events that our downtown has sponsored going. And a lot of times it seems like you'll hear that the issue comes from permitting issues with the city or something like that, where it's
So a need for a better city/business relationship. Okay, that's good.
So it's about the communication more than the actual laws themselves. Maybe.
Maybe,
I'm
yeah.
not really sure where the issue lies. It just seems like I've seen articles that have come out on like the BID and stuff where
All right. Fair enough. All right.
Can I capture that?
So I'm gonna,
Hold on.
City community relationship?
Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah.
other than the inability to find anywhere to eat on a Monday.
On Tuesday.
Hopper.
No, they don't open until Wednesday.
One of the things that I keep thinking about is the downtown, and I feel like our downtown is in this revitalization phase, like we are starting to make some progress. But when I look downtown, and I know people may think I'm crazy when I say the parking, I feel like we need to concentrate parking. We have a really functional 3-story parking garage that's never fully utilized, and yet we are occupying main space on Last Chance Gulch with parking garages that aren't really safe. So that's thinking about the way that we're using that space in our downtown corridor. And I just said a lot, and I don't know how to encapsulate that, but I was thinking about what I said was expanding, supporting downtown opportunities and doing concentrated parking, rethinking that so that you have the opportunity for lots of mixed use on the walking mall.
I would put it on here as just downtown parking. And we'll get the detail.
It's
on
not
this.
about the parking though, sorry, it wasn't only the parking, it was more the, there are other buildings, if you look at like 10 Mile and Hawthorne, and that area is getting to be really hopping, and yet across the mall, there are offices on the main floor that are not usable in the evening when people are concentrating in that area.
So activate downtown.
There you go, actually, that's a great way, activating, helping to activate downtown, so thinking about the spaces that are not optimized all the time.
Okay, good.
So with that, do you also want to see more parking structures in lieu of all the many disparate surface lots we've got scattered?
No, I was thinking about the parking structures in particular, like across the street from the hub, which is not a city parking, but it's like, this is amazing space. It's dangerous for people walking on that side of the street, and it's not useful for retail business or attracting people to downtown. It's privately owned.
Yeah. it's like you
She enjoys the
I've actually seen privately.
I think it's US Bank.
That's fine.
If you don't mind the smell, it gives you a cool blast on a hot summer day.
Or that we still have a parking garage, we're still allowing cars to drive into across where there's, it says no motor vehicles past this, where everyone is letting their kids run free reign, which is super fun.
Yeah.
Why do we still have a parking garage there? It's crazy in my mind. So sorry, but the whole corridor, it's just thinking about that downtown corridor and how do we revitalize it?
Okay, good.
To tag off of that, figure out a way to have more spaces that you don't have to pay for parking, which encourages people to come in and
you patronize
somewhere else and
downtown.
walk downtown.
Exactly.
Right, that's what I was.
So
Quit
more
having-
free parking,
sorry.
more free parking downtown?
Not downtown.
Areas of free parking.
Yeah, areas of free parking, yes.
But out of the downtown area.
It's like little Irish villages. They have the big parking lot outside the village, and then you just walk into town.
Right.
I mean, everyone just parks outside of town, and then you walk around town.
We have a big is that parking structure ever full?
The Sixth Avenue one, I think, is permitted mostly full. So a lot of the empty lots are because they have a lot of permits they give out.
All elevations?
It's not totally full, but last I checked, it was fairly full in terms of permits. Jackson one is totally full.
Yeah, there's a whole history about why the parking kiosks are there.
Yeah.
They were meant to keep those. You were talking about businesses.
Yeah.
That are not available after a certain time, like the Department of Revenue.
Right.
All their people parked in front of all those small businesses.
That's the history.
It was meant to cycle those folks through, but I agree with you on the buildings, but parking is definitely a big issue that we're facing right now.
Downtown parking and everything around it's a challenge in any downtown, because if you think about it, a fundamental tenet of the downtown is usually a higher level of residential densities in the concentrated area, a high concentration of a mix of different uses all in close proximity, a really strong, safe and attractive pedestrian environment, these are all hallmarks of downtown. The other one is really convenient parking that is easy to find and get to, but it doesn't visually dominate the landscape. You go into a downtown, you don't want to see fields of surface parking because that's not a downtown.
Right.
But you also don't want a remote parking lot that's 4 blocks away because it'll sit empty while people circle around and around and around. So downtown parking is tricky, and it's, do you have enough? Do you have too much? Do you have the right amount but in the wrong place? What's the hour limitations? Is it enforced? Is it paid? Is it free? I mean, it's a tricky, and every downtown takes a shot at it differently, but it's a weird thing.
I hate to sound dismissive about this because we dealt with this a lot at DHI BID. The thing that boggles my mind, I've never heard somebody complain about the walk in the Target parking lot on a Saturday. And it is further than from.
That is always my analogy.
It's not a great,
That's true.
it's right there.
People will park or go to the mall or shopping center, park on the last one, like the day after Thanksgiving, and they'll walk a half mile through a sea of parking to go to that store. But they won't, they'll drive around and around and around till they find a spot in front of their store. I know, it drives me nuts, yeah.
So we have one from online, Diana Hammer. She would add climate change with the increased risk of drought, wildfire, and poor air quality.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Diana. Thanks, Diana.
There you go.
Sorry to be.
No, that's good. The funny, the thing that captures to me the fundamental nuance of downtown parking and all it means is there's a quote by Yogi Berra, one of the greatest American philosophers. And he said, no one goes there anymore. It's way too crowded.
That's right.
Yeah.
Nothing sums up parking in a downtown board than that sentence. Like, nobody goes to downtown. You can never find a place to park. Well, let's think that one through just a little bit. Like it's a weird thing, right? So
Go back to that idea that we have become so car centric and just talking what Diana said. One of the things that we need to do is find ways to encourage people to be, living and working and visiting downtown Helena without having to get into their car.
I agree.
Well, and that
Right.
brings me back to
So
sort of
quit
my
accommodating
point.
cars and quit worrying about parking, make people figure it out.
It's kind of like the zoning and how we build the community. It doesn't match how people live and how you can create that organic walking flow or that flow between places instead of getting in your car and having to drive to Target and walk across the parking lot, whatever.
Has anybody here been to Traverse City, Michigan?
Heard a lot.
Yeah, it's an amazing downtown. It's wonderful. And the director there, he's been there he's just getting ready to retire. He's been there for forever. Years ago, he convinced city council to say, don't accommodate the car anymore. Let them figure it out. What you just said, that's been Traverse City's mantra for 20 or 30 years. And something will get proposed, they'll do an idea that will get more development, more people living, less parking lots, whatever else. And people will say but traffic is going to be a mess. Parking is going to be there. They're like, don't care.
Figure it out.
And they'll be like, don't care. And, don't care. They've been saying that for 25 years, don't care. And it's the most coveted downtown in the Midwest. It's so great. And they're the same way. They're like, yeah, we're going to make it the coolest place to walk around, bike around. And if you're lucky enough to figure out how to drive there, hey, good for you. But we're not going to go out of our way to accommodate you driving there and parking there. We'll do what we can if we can. We're not going to turn a blind side, but not a priority.
Right.
And it's worked for them really well. And it seems a bit of an anomaly, but they're like, I don't care. Good point, don't care. It's pretty funny. So if you get a chance to go there, it's phenomenal.
I heard nothing but good stuff about it.
Yeah.
Non-motorized transportation, like the hiking, biking, but also too that ties into public transportation. So I know it's number 7.
Yep.
But we've got a great. You go to Blackfoot Brewing down the street, get the biker gangs that show up, guys in the shorts and the hats or the bike helmets. We've got a great biking community, and finding ways to make it easier. We don't have hardly any bike lanes.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah,
we've got super narrow streets. It's like
And we allow parking on both sides.
Yeah,
we allow parking on both sides, right? So then, and then the other one is like sustainability. It's something we're working really hard on as a city as well.
Yeah. So I would put that in. So sustainability is a separate one, but the need to better accommodate bicycling. I think that's really good. Now more than ever, there's a lot of, if you think about it this way, there's a lot of competition for right of way right now. Back and curb to back and curb. It used to be it's easy, just people driving, right? But now in a retail environment or mixed use environment, you want to have as much on-street parking as possible. That's a tenet of downtown, maximize on-street parking. But people want bike lanes now, so that's a competition. Then you got people driving there. I mean, like, there's a lot of priorities you're trying to squeeze into 32 feet. Or whatever. Seriously, it's really, really hard. To design some of that stuff new is easy. You can just accommodate it on the front end, but retrofitting that stuff into an existing narrower street with buildings, like, that's really hard. It's hard to do.
And also too, when you have discussions with folks that say, we want bike lanes, but we don't want wide streets.
Yeah.
Well, we've got narrow streets, so it makes it hard to accommodate that. Having those wider streets allows for that, but then you hear people tend to speed more, there are more accidents. It's, trying to find a balance also too with the apparatus, like our fire department.
Yep.
Your snow plows. So the balance, I think, is really key.
It's tough.
Keep growing and glad you're in.
Yeah, it's tough. All right, so we got a couple more to go real quick to get everybody. I think we're at you. Oh, do you have one?
All right, yeah, my only last one, maybe this is a little too nuanced. Sometimes when we have been doing things in the downtown community, there is a lack of clarity on responsibilities within city divisions.
Okay.
And so we want to do something and it gets passed back and forth between two departments that both say it's not there.
No, that's fair. That's good. So lack of identified city responsibility or whatever. Yes.
Yeah, in certain jurisdictions, certain area, the walking mall is a great example because it's technically a right of way for emergency vehicles, but Parks is supposed to manage it. So if you try to do anything to change the walking mall,
right,
you will get hot potato back and forth
Yep.
until the idea kind of just dies.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
Yeah.
And I'm giving a lot of these anecdotal stories, but the best way I've ever heard that described, we were in Oak Park, Illinois, just outside of Chicago. I live the town right next door. So at Franklin Wright Homes, it's a gorgeous downtown. And we had a business workshop and we had about 100 business owners, and the local movie theater let us use one of the theaters to have the workshop. It was great. So we had everybody in there. And that was a big issue, was that. And the gentleman who brought it up in this way. He was an older gentleman. He was I think he was 83 or 84. He had a small shoe repair shop in town for forever. And he said, listen, I call up the city hall to try to get the question answered, or how do I get this, whatever else. And I just get pinged back and forth with this guy. And he goes, listen, you guys in this room are way smarter than I am. You know about this stuff. I don't. All I know is this. When I pick up the phone, this is how I go. He goes, when I pick up the phone, he's like, and I call City Hall, I only care about one thing. The person I'm talking to better be an advocate for my success.
Yeah.
I don't care what you guys like to do to make that happen.
Yeah.
I want one thing, and that's the only thing I want. You guys figure it out.
Yeah.
But when I'm talking to somebody at City Hall, and you tell me who that person is, I'll call anybody you want me to. But I need to know that that person's sole charge is my success.
Yeah.
And everyone moved us out of clap. He's like, hey, what else do you say after that? You need that kind of responsiveness.
That's a great.
Right? All right. Now you circumvented and got another one jumped in there. You got another one? Or okay, just trying to double check. All right, so we've been around a few times. We've got 33 up there. So now I want you to go to question number 2. And before you write anything, though, it says list in order of importance the 3 most important discussed so far. So before you write anything, so we've got 33 things on the wall.
Around.
All right. So these didn't come from the consultant team. They didn't come from us. They didn't come from Sally. It came from you guys, right? So these are the issues that residents and stakeholders of Helena came up with. So from this list, now what I want you to do is write down the number. You don't have to write out the whole thing. Write out the number, write them in order, and you cannot combine them. Because it always comes up. And we'll
Look at me with
somebody will always say, well, to me, 6, 7, 18, and 24 are kind of related. So I'm like, no. So a lot of them are infrastructure related. All right. So when we're doing the summary, we might say infrastructure, one of the most commonly things discussed. Here's what we heard about infrastructure, and we'll discuss it. And even though some of these are similar, you get to pick 3, write down the numbers in order of importance. So even if 2 are very related or very close, pick out the one that you think best represents your priority. Top 3 in order, just write down the number. If you can't read it, blame Cody. No, I'm just kidding. If you can't read it or don't know what we're saying, let us know and we can discuss it to make sure we have it correct. So you know what we're saying.
Also, if it's illegible, you can blame me and I'll decipher it. I'll try. I'll try.
And then when you get your three written down, just put your pens down so I know you're good.
This is hard.
It is, right?
Just three.
Just three.
Now you're regretting you had so many up there, right?
Why did you make us go around?
No,
the
I
room
gave you
so
some
many
to
times? Why'd you make us go around the room so many times?
To make sure we
Yeah,
get
yeah.
all your answers up.
Yeah.
There's still probably some we didn't get up. Now, we really, and if we really do this for a couple of reasons. One, it's nice for consultant team and for staff to hear what you think are most important. Like we need to know that. But I think more important than us hearing it, I think it's important for you guys to hear what each other say. And here's what I mean by that. We all go through life, we think we're open-minded, some more than others, I guess. But we experience our lives like this. Like, we have our routines, we have our experiences, we have what we do on a daily basis, but we have some level of blinder onto what our experience is, right? And it might be different than the person sitting next to you. And when we do this, we say, what are the three most important things or the five most important things? We always have that crotchety old guy, he's 114 years old, he's lived here longer than anybody else. And we ask that question, he's like, you want to know what's wrong with this town? I'll tell you what's wrong with this town. It's this, and this. I've known it my whole life. It's about time somebody asked me. Like that. That's the five things, right? We always get that guy. Not in this room, but we get that guy. And then we say, okay, what's the most important thing that you heard? And they look up there and he's like, boy, the young woman sitting next to me, she said things I never thought of before. Like she came up with like remarkable ideas. Like we should be doing what she said. Like that's an amazing idea. And so by doing this, you guys get to hear what other people think is important, and it starts letting you think differently about your community for the first time, maybe, right? Mm-hmm. And we've tracked this, and about 65-70% of the time, when people pick their top three, it's not one of the five things they initially said was one of their most important issues, which means something else they heard in that room was an idea better than their own or different than their own. And that starts you thinking about your town. So it's important for you to hear what everybody says. So we're going to go through these. Cody is going to read them off one at a time. When he does, he'll say number one, housing affordability. Who had number one? If you had number one down as your first, second, or third priority, I don't care where it was. But if it was one of the answers on question number two, raise your hand. I'm just going to go through real quick, and he's going to jot down how many people raise their hand per. Let's get sort of a snapshot as to what you prioritize. If we do this in a room with like 100, 200 people, we might have 80 things to pick from. 5 or 6 will get 80% of the votes. And you begin to identify, although all 70 might be legitimate, 5 or 6 really cut to the quick of what people want to address. And that's kind of helpful. So Cody will read them off. Raise your hand if it's one of yours, and we'll keep track.
All right, housing affordability.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Burden on existing infrastructure.
Nope.
Access to childcare, affordable childcare.
Nope.
Funding for the city.
4.
Schools and education, quality facilities.
Nope.
Pedestrian routes and safety.
1.
Transportation, disconnect connectivity.
4.
Complicated land use approval process.
Nope.
Implementation and follow-up.
1.
Deferred maintenance of city facilities.
Nope.
Update zoning regs.
2.
Balancing existing character with the need to update.
1.
Aging infrastructure.
Nope.
The unhoused. Water conscious development.
One.
Water and sewer capacity.
No.
Bad curb appeal.
No.
Dysfunctional relationship between city, county, state.
Nope.
Wayfinding to downtown.
Nope.
Lack of impact fees.
Nope.
Better and more responsible access to open space.
Nope.
Traffic congestion.
What?
Lack of east-west connectors.
Nope.
Lack of wage growth.
Nope.
Securing, perfecting water rights.
2.
Funding for fire and police.
Nope.
Need for better city county relationships, city community relationships, sorry.
2.
Helping to activate downtown.
2.
Areas of free parking downtown.
Nope.
Climate change, drought, wildfire.
1.
Non-motorized transportation.
Nope.
Sustainability.
3.
Lack of identified city responsibility.
All right, so housing affordability was number 1. Next was funding for the city, transportation disconnect. And then after that was sustainability. All right, those are the top 4. All right, so when we do this, it's hard to divorce some of these from one another. You work on one thing, you touch 10 others. There's a lot of interrelatedness here, and we totally get that. We also know we're forced you guys to pick and choose. It doesn't as conveniently work that way when we work with you to craft a plan over the next year plus. A lot of these things will be addressed comprehensively or together, which is important. And just because something doesn't get a vote here doesn't mean it's not important. It doesn't mean it's not going to get addressed. It just means it didn't get a vote here when you had to pick 3. So that's really good. All right, now we're going to go on to question number 3. And we won't write anything. We won't write anything. You will, but we won't write anything down more on the board. But let's say we wake up tomorrow morning, all right, and the city council is like, you know what, we're out of here. We're moving to Naples. We're out. We're done. John, you're in charge. Right? And everybody looks at John and says, you know what, John, you're in charge, and we got your back. And we want to do whatever we can to make Helena a better place. You tell us the 3 most important specific things we can do when we wake up tomorrow, starting tomorrow, to make Helena better. You tell us those 3 things and we'll get at it. But it's all on you. What are the 3 things we're doing? So think of this question that way. And it doesn't have to relate to the things on the board. It can be something we haven't even thought of. It can, it doesn't have to. But we wake up tomorrow and you're in charge. And everybody is looking at you saying, what do we do? What do you think we need to do to make Helena as good as it possibly can be? You tell us those 3 things, we'll get going on it. We'll start working on it. It could be a development, it could be a new process, it could be whatever. I don't know. What 3 things do you think the city should start doing to make Helena a better place? 3 things. Be as specific as you're comfortable being. This is the toughest question.
Is it like pie in the sky, or is it an exclusion of all else?
I'll frame it this way. I want it to be, if it's hallucinated or whatever, like, oh, we should build like the 3rd Disney, like maybe call it Disney Universe. I'm like, that's, come on. Not that far. So, but I do want it to be, it can be hard or be like a stretch, but it's got to be something that's conceivably possible. But I will say, in realistic terms, I don't want you to be constrained by fiscal realities. And here's what I mean by that. We worked at one town that had 1 bridge over this river right by downtown. And there were 2 logical places for, 1 or 2 other things that would have solved a million problems in town. And we did this and nobody said that. And it was the most obvious answer. And I said, why didn't anybody listen? They said, we've been complaining about that for years, and all we get from the state and Army Corps of Engineers, it would cost too much money. So we don't ask anymore. And I'm like, is it still the most important thing? They're like, oh, hands down. I go, then write it down.
Yeah.
So I don't want you to not list something that you desperately think is an honest answer because it might be tough or it might be hard or it might be, we're going to keep trying. We may never get it, but we're going to keep trying. I still want to hear that answer. If it's a legitimate answer, I don't want you to be constrained by it costs too much. We can't do it because it costs too much. If you honestly think it's an important thing, let's hear it and we'll see if we can figure out a different way to get it. So in that context, you can throw out there a big idea. One more. I'm gonna be right back. Right.
We'll record the rest.
Yeah.
The meeting is being recorded, so
We'll be
that'll
done.
be available.
We'll be done this little bit. No, 8:30.
It said 7 to 8 on the. We weren't sure.
Oh, okay. Usually run between an hour and a half to 2 hours. Yeah, you got a grandson you got to get to. Right? That takes precedence.
Oh, surely he's now enough hours old to take care of himself.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
That I didn't know I was gonna have to take care of tonight. But I have a neighbor
But
watching.
he's got some good ideas.
Right.
And I'll be back at 8:15 at the latest.
We can take a sheet for you.
I thought it was funny when I said the Disney universe thing and you said, oh, there goes my answer. We were in a town once called Bellwood. There was about 80 people in the room. And the question was, what are 3 things you absolutely do not want in your downtown? And what are 3 things you absolutely want to see in your downtown? And the first person we started with, there's this elderly man and woman in front. I think they were next door neighbors, but they came together. And the woman went first and she's like, I don't want to see any gun stores. I don't want to see any adult uses, and I don't want any more liquor stores. And the old guy next door without missing a beat goes, oh, great, there's the 3 things I said. And the room was dying. It was super fun. He was impeccable timing. So we're going to start over here. We're going to go reverse order. And just give me 1 or 2 of the things that you would say, just sort of matter of fact, we'll go around the room real quick and just get some of the ideas out here. So a couple of things that you would do on your list to make things better.
This one's probably not popular, the Montana Avenue underpass.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Bike lanes connecting the new museum to the downtown to the trailheads.
Okay.
And then I think we need a nice new performance venue downtown.
Okay.
And a lot of ideas pushed to the community lately.
3 good ones. And they were specific. I liked it. That was good. Some people say like, do something about economic development. I'm like, that's a good political campaign. It's not real actionable. So,
My first one does not apply to anybody in this room. Figure out a way to incentivize city employees to better serve and communicate with the residents and businesses within the city of Helena, whether that's some type of they get, if they do good service for somebody and somebody turns in like, hey, this person really helped me.
Yeah.
They get enough points, they get some kind of like monetary bonus
Right.
or a paid day off or something like that.
Cities have stuff like that. I mean, yeah. That's good. Yeah.
Build the underpass.
So I'm looking at your paper, man. You stepped down, you like,
Serve not just cars, but pedestrians and bicyclists.
Yes.
Yeah.
North and south, and then pedestrians and bicyclists east and west.
Okay.
How did you people see my paper?
Yeah,
And
see,
then,
now,
the Centennial Trail all the way across.
All right.
town.
good. 3 good ones.
I basically said the same, kind of develop those pedestrian corridors. I was thinking even more just on the, not necessarily even the over and underpasses, but just tactical urbanism type stuff where we can go out and really cheaply paint in bike lanes and put up flexible delineators and things like that. I said if we could replace some of our banks and casinos.
Right.
Probably do that. Stronger public transport,
That's good.
like a loop system.
I like your answer about some of the simple, quick things, because one of the absolute best traffic engineers I've ever had the privilege of working with in my career, the first thing you would say is, listen, before we get to any convoluted engineering, what can I solve with a bucket of white paint and a brush? There's stuff I know I can fix tomorrow if you cut me loose. Let's figure that stuff out. It's low cost, high return, like it's that type of stuff. So that was a good answer. Yeah, that was good. And more cities are doing that, which is kind of cool, right?
I put down, keep infrastructure updated, storm systems, buildings, keep moving towards more affordable housing, and always have an adequate and plentiful water supply.
Right, good.
Short-term, improve customer service. I hate using that term for taxpayers because they're not our customers, bosses. So constituent services, midterm, improving permitting for whether it's for housing or events. Long-term, thank you for mentioning, I think strengthening relationship with the state of Montana. We got the Historical Heritage Museum being built, 150,000 new people will be visiting Helena. How do we connect them using Sixth, get them downtown for our businesses, our farmers market, up Last Chance over to Reader's Alley. Been having some conversations with some folks internally in the businesses downtown. And also to a sporting activity and convention music center. I know there's a couple different projects, but I think Sean and I are the same page.
So I've got to act or separate the Gray Cross and that Montana. It's on everybody's list probably, but the city support a small business incubator or small business support services, some type of facility for small businesses. And then Ellie knows this, what I've mentioned this before, the city to fund or support the construction of infrastructure for the construction of a affordable transitional housing community with support services. Kind of like the small business part. Type concept.
That's good. That's good. That's cool.
Yeah, so I have the traffic flow issues around Montana and the 5-way intersections, implementing ADA compliant sidewalks and crosswalks across the entire town to improve walkability and safety and to ensure reasonably attainable access to develop dense and/or sprawling housing options for multi-use zoning to house our people.
So I went with the road infrastructure, wheel point access throughout town, stop train blockage, but also my car is a magnet. Replace and upgrade the existing road infrastructure.
That's good. That's good.
Because you said money was no option.
Money's no option.
Focus on development of several affordable living communities in targeted areas throughout the city. And then more community outreach and integration into city planning and development, including reaching out to people who don't normally engage with government, i.e. normal people not like us.
There are people who historically just don't engage, and getting them to engage is.
Yeah, I didn't get specific there,
No,
but
that's okay,
I mean,
that's okay.
that's, yeah.
And the thing about the whole customer service, city hall stuff, there are approaches out there that you can read up. I was working with the city of Phoenix like several years ago, early on in my career when they went through this, where It's a philosophy of treating your city as if it's a competing private sector business. And what they mean, if you go to a taco place and the tacos are okay, but the service is crap, you gotta wait a long time, they're kind of rude, whatever else. But there's a taco place across the street where the food is, it's just as good, but it's better service, they're nicer, the chairs are better, they're quicker, whatever. Pretty soon you're gonna go to the one and the other one will go away. But if you're getting a development approval and you only have one taco place to go to, no matter how good that taco is at the service is, it doesn't matter. You have to go there to get your entitlement or your permit, right? So there's a city management and organizational philosophy out there of, we have to take someone through the permitting process as if they can go to Helenaville across the street and get a building permit there or here. So we have to structure ourselves as if we're competing for that building permit. And if we don't do our jobs well and sufficient and nicely and professionally and effectively and quality, they can go across the street and get the same building permit more efficiently, friendly, and effectively across the street at Helenaville. And there are systems in place and ways to structure city entities and organizationally to deliver a private sector competitive mindset, customer service, QA, QC, whatever else, in a public sector setting. And it's not easy, but it's a switch. And once it's on, it's amazing how rapid that just fires through an organization. So if you want to dig deep, there's things you can read up on how to do that, and it's pretty neat stuff. So I've been through that a couple of times with different cities. It's pretty cool. So last thing real quick is, you start off with these, and so far we've talked about what are the issues, what are the concerns, what are your biggest problems, what would you do to make it better? Well, it's already pretty good. Like you have a lot of things a lot of communities would kill for. Like they would love to have some of your assets and opportunities. So if you don't identify at the beginning of a process what is best about what you had, you run the risk of losing. It came up a little bit with sort of like, how do you balance investment and maintain who you are? That's the trick, right? So what is best about Helena? What are your greatest strengths and your greatest assets? Because you have to build on those. And as you change other things that need to be tweaked, you don't want to do so at the risk of ruining what's good that you have, right? So what is best about what you have? What are your strengths? What are your assets? What are the best things about Helena? So jot those down for number 4, because if you don't identify those at the beginning, you run the risk of losing them. And I've got a bunch of stories of towns that have done just that. To me, urban renewal is a real good example of that. They came in, they had funding in place. We'll give you money if you do, all those intricate architecturally detailed buildings. Those are hard to maintain. Let's just slab that over with vinyl. And people are driving now, so let's rip out all these cool little buildings and put in parking lots all over the place. And so they did all this to try to boost the economic viability of small downtowns, right?
Yeah.
And 60, 50 years later, what's every small town trying to do? Undo everything that urban renewal did. Because when they started that program, they didn't come to a town and say, what is best about this downtown? All the architectural detail is great. The pedestrian orientation is phenomenal. The sense of place is unique and great. Keeping these 3 things in mind, how can we make it a better place? Well, they didn't do that. They just said, how can we make it better? Accommodate the automobile, get rid of pesky facades. Like, they didn't identify what was best, right? So what is best about Helena? And as you're writing this down, just who wants to raise their hand and throw some out that you think are what's best about Helena? John?
So I put down, being a government town has provided Helena with a strong economic base to hopefully maintain and promote a healthy living environment.
Good. That's good.
Access to open land within walking distance of city limits.
Is phenomenal. Yeah.
I'll say this because it's kind of what I said earlier, but there's a lot of literature now about how we lack third spaces in our communities, meaning that we have a home and a work, and there's not a place where we meet as a public, whether we agree politically or not. And I think Helena, primarily pedestrian mall and in Live at 5, we have a phenomenal third spaces, whereas in community we gather regardless of background, beliefs, etc.
And that notion is coming in really strong play in the last couple of years. It's been around for a while, but that notion of third place is incredibly effective to people that aren't thinking a certain way, right? Like your first place is where you live, right? Second place is where you work. If you're not at work and you're not at home, where do you want to be and what are you doing? Like, what is that third place? And you start thinking about it, and it really begins to prioritize what you want to improve. It's a great way to start thinking about things differently. That's perfect. Yeah.
Our population and the available land we still have is at a level where an actual land use plan like this can make a real difference.
If you're not built out or landlocked, you can still do some pretty cool stuff, both infill and growing out. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
It's not Missoula.
No, it's
Yeah.
not.
And it's not too late. I mean, you've still got, right?
That poor university, a mountain, neighborhood, or river can't go anywhere but inside. I like to say our people are places of their prosperity. Our people, we're seeing a lot more engagement. I think our places, outdoors, public spaces, our neighborhoods, our walking wall, our prosperity, small businesses, but also to your C, medium, and large. We got Boeing over there. I should say Boeing. I felt it correct. But also to our history.
Yeah.
Country history. Those are mine.
It's a great combination of like new and old, and history and opportunity. It's really pretty amazing. And a lot of towns don't have both. They just don't. So I'll call on you if you don't raise your hand. So you might as well.
So Cody will move away from the logo.
Helena forward.
Yep. Hell yeah. That was gonna be the tagline, hell in the hell yeah, we figured. We go with this.
Teach us how to hell
Or anybody else want to throw a couple out there? What do you think is, what are your greatest assets? I think from just being here for a few days, a couple of times now, there's a real sense of community here, and I don't know how to, but there's like, you talk about what's your third place. What about like a sense of place? And it doesn't matter what part of Helena you live in. There's a real sense of Helena as a community. And when you visit a place and you don't know much about it, but you visit it from another part of the country, you either perceive that or you don't. And I've done this in 400 plus cities. So you either get it or you don't. And you don't have to hunt for it here. It's prominent, whether you're getting a hamburger down at the Old Salt. Or
One place that's open all the days.
we were there yesterday. I didn't hit the spot. It's pretty good. Or when you're going to get a cup of coffee, where did you get coffee this morning?
Montago.
Yeah, I mean, just like the people are genuine, they're friendly, engaging. Everybody's different. It's not like, a Helena resident is this type of profile. It doesn't exist. But you get a real strong sense of community. You visit here and you go back to where you came from and you're told stories of like, oh man, you got to go to Helena. It's so cool. Like that's the type of stewards you want leaving Helena, saying that when they go back to where they came from.
I think just a big part of why I love this place growing up, why I still love it now, there's not much social stratification.
Right. That's really
I think it's a big part of why we have this great community feel is
Yeah.
if you go to Montago or Old Salt, like I'm sure all of us were there this week at some point,
Yeah.
like, your friend in front of the bar could be doing any other job, any other thing. And we're not a stratified.
You don't get right.
And that's
Exactly.
really great.
And we'll see everybody in about 2 weeks at 11:05.
Exactly.
Just big melt.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's awesome. All right, let's go to the next. Okay, so this is the project website. If you haven't visited it, visit it. It's linked on the city's website. But on there is upcoming events, activities, frequently asked questions about the land use plan. It'll give you the map social, the interactive mapping team where you can map things. The online community questionnaire is here. I believe there's a place on here where you can request a DIY kit. If you want to conduct a workshop or know somebody that wants to, you can request a DIY kit from the website and want it sent to you. So if you haven't already, go to the website, check on the next one. And this is just examples of the questionnaire, the survey, and a QR code to sort of take you. Here's Map Social. And again, it's the nice thing now about everybody having navigation to Google Maps is 10 years ago, people wouldn't have known where to navigate, but now it's just intuitive, right? So you can go on here, you can zoom in, you can zoom out, you can do a map view, you can do satellite view, you can zoom into a specific piece of property or zoom way out. You can use your cursor or your finger on your phone to drop bikeways and trails. You can draw lines, community assets. You can square or circle an area, say this is a development opportunity, problematic intersections, safety concerns, undesirable uses, transit destinations, poor appearance. And you drop the icon, you can type anything, you can drop in a photograph if you want to. And then we're able to step back. Thousands of people do this. And we can say, show us a composite map of every problematic intersection that somebody thinks is a problem and why. Everything else disappears, and all we see is all these red circles with explanations as to why people think that needs to be improved. And we can do that with everything. It's really a cool mapping tool, real easy to use. So go on the website and play around with it. So we're beginning to engage the community online. Ask 5 people to take the question or try Map Social. That's the challenge for everybody in this room. I still think the best way to get the word out isn't social media. It's old school talking to somebody. I still, in today's day and age, I'm convinced that it's the best way to get stuff done. DIY kits are available. You can ask staff. I think you can request them on the website, or is that not there yet?
It'll be there soon.
Okay.
Day or two.
Community workshops are coming up, and then existing conditions analysis is being conducted right now. That's sort of where we are. So this group will likely meet 5 or 6 times over the course of the project. So we try to do a cadence of every few months we get together. This is the first time we will have met with this group where we didn't have material for you to review in advance of the meeting. This meeting was intentionally, we show up and we just ask you questions to sort of get your initial response to questions. But if we have the next meeting an existing conditions report to go over the good, the bad, the ugly, you'll get that report a week in advance of the meeting. You can dig into it, rip it apart, look at it. So when we show up, we'll talk about it. And if you think we got it all right, or something we have to go back, we fix it. And then when you guys are ready to sign off, we post it on the website so everybody can see it, right? So this will be the first meeting you don't get materials in advance. Every meeting going forward, you will get draft materials to review. So when we show up, we can discuss those materials. So you'll have sort of homework and prep going forward. And again, I think we meet like 5 or 6 times over the course of the next year. So that's the cadence of this group. So I think that's it. Thanks for not only this evening, but committing to doing and staying involved over the course of the project. Your guidance is going to be critical. You know this town inside and out. We have the benefit of seeing what's done across the country and national best practice that we can consider here, giving what's here and responding to what is here and what we hear. But this is where you live. This is where your families are. This is your home. And we're going to need your feedback and input and guidance along the way so we can get this right. And that's sort of your charge. So thanks for this evening. Thanks for being on the committee. We will be working with you over the next year, and I look forward to it. Thanks so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I guess it's not good to say